Okay, I'm recording. So, why did you choose Inside Out Adventure Leadership Program? Sorry. Yeah.
So we chose the Inside Out Adventure Leadership Program for a few reasons, actually. One of them is very personal. Andy Bidnell, who is one of the people who runs this course, and I go back a very long way, all the way back to half a lifetime to Somalia in the early 90s, where Andy and I worked together for an Irish NGO. So there was a personal connection, and we've remained friends for the whole of that time. And I've watched Andy develop an extraordinary leadership brilliance, really, from a place of deep humanitarian conviction, but also deep love for humanity, which for our kind of organisation, for Save the Children, is a natural fit, therefore. And to see how he's brought that into the business world to audiences that have thrived as a result of the kind of leadership development, for me it was a no-brainer on a very personal level. But it's also the methodology, I think, that Inside Out Adventure leadership courses bring, which is intensive, lengthy, and hacks into your sort of personal mainframe, if you like, as an individual on a very human level. My own philosophy around leadership and leadership development as a humanitarian leader is that it's a very deep personal thing. You know, it's about you as an individual, your values, your identity, that inner conversation you have with yourself, your sense of place in the world, your sense of inner peace. And these are very soft things in a way that perhaps the corporate world or the business world or most aspects of modern life, we prefer to stay away from those deeper, darker corners of our souls, if you like. But my experience of leadership over the last quarter of a century is that's where the real stuff comes from. So your value base, your understanding of yourself, these are the sort of touchstones that will guide you in difficult times. So a leadership course that accentuates that explores that asks you the hard questions about yourself, that helps you to ask yourself hard questions, was going to be perfect for us.
Yeah. Oh, you mentioned it's lengthy course. Is that a problem as well as being a good thing as well in terms of time constraints?
I mean, the length of the course is important. I mean, it's an intense 12-week process, which for some people might say, well, that's too long. We've only got time for a couple of days. Well, you get out of these things what do you put in. And my experience of leadership development is you can't rush it. You need to repeat a lot of things. You need to iterate. You need to take people on a longitudinal journey, if you like, through time, through their own experiences day to day with you there in a process. And that's what the Inside Out Leadership Development Program does. You know, over 12 weeks, it builds and it builds while people's lives go on, while their work goes on, and it provides a framework that builds on all that. And what you get then is something much deeper than, you know, the 1 week intensive, here's some PowerPoint presentations, here's some interesting people to give you a few insightful lectures. You know, that doesn't go deep enough. My experience is that you have to go much deeper with people over a much longer period of time. And only then do you really get into the heart of the matter, into what really matters in leadership, which is people sense themselves. So you have to build up that trust. And you do that through the amount of time you spend with people and the difficult, safe conversations you create in that space.
Yeah. I think what I'm trying to say is there do some people see it as taking them away from their real work? How do you handle that?
So the mistake that people make, you know, lots of organisations say we need some leadership development, let's get ourselves a course of some kind, but it all needs to fit in a small little box, a little window of time in between a bunch of processes and a bunch of real world stuff that has a profit attached to it and a real world cost. That is a mistake. If you set out in leadership development for your staff, often very senior people, with this kind of mindset, then you really haven't understood leadership, frankly. You know, if you're in charge of a big organisation and you create an environment in which your staff are successful, I say to my people, you know, as leaders, we're not there to do the work. You know, we're playing a symphony here with a conductor. We're in charge of the weather and the ocean upon which our ships sail. You know, we are not sailing the ship. So unless you create space, unless you carve out the space, all that happens is your staff get no benefit from it. They stay in the maelstrom of the here and now, they stay in the tyranny of the process on a daily basis, and you've not carved out anything different. So of course you don't get a transformational outcome that way. All you get is a box ticked, and then you wonder why a year later when you've spent some money there's no real demonstrable impact. So you have to invest in time, in effort, in sweat capital, all the usual kind of things, over the right period of time. And you know, the good thing about working with experts like Inside Out is they'll carve that out for you, they'll create it with you, they'll work to your agenda, but they'll be honest with you about what you're going to get in return. And if you are constrained in those ways, you'll get a constrained outcome. That's simple.
Which brings us on to the next thing. It's a big one. What's been the impact?
I mean, already, the course has had huge impact. The Inside Out Adventure process for my staff who've been through it. They're very capable people. They're very experienced people. They live in the real world of very difficult, and troubling circumstances, which they intervene, for children all over the world. So, but straight away, as the course has been running, the feedback you get is that, wow, this is something different. This is not what we were expecting. This is way deeper. This is way more personal. This is way more challenging. I'm discovering things about myself. I mean, the feedback I'm receiving from my staff who've gone through is, light bulb moments going off all over the place, truly transformative experiences, people discovering themselves in some ways for the first time, learning how to be different with themselves, how to like themselves different, how to be, how to challenge. And it's extraordinarily deep and very, very impactful, because my own experience when I measure it up against what I'm hearing is that it's incredibly transformative and transformational what's happening, and that's because it goes deep and it doesn't shy away from the hard stuff, which is all about what makes you tick as an individual. And once you tap into that, and to know that it's okay to be frail, it's okay to have normal human fears, it's okay to fail at life. The question isn't about whether that's going to happen to you. If you lead a full life, you will have ups and downs. It's how do you resolve those moments in yourself, and how do you come back for the next time? That's where real leadership starts to occur. Real leadership involves a heck of a lot of stick-at-itness, a heck of a lot of resilience, a heck of a lot of hopefulness, and these are not easy things to discover in yourself if you've not had a help with that. And where these courses that Inside Out Adventures run are so valuable is that they give people a safe framework, an environment in which to explore that, and then they stay with you afterwards so that you can continue to discover. They check in with you, and it's incredibly valuable this way, and it works. I was very clear in my head that it's not now at the end of the 12-week process that we will judge this. It's a year from now, it's 2 years from now. And if the dozen or so people who've gone through this, if only one of them produces something incredible on the back of this, it was worth the entire investment for the whole group. When you invest in leadership development, you have to mean it. It has to be deep, and it has to be sustainable over a long period of time, or you're just playing at it. And these guys know that, and that's why I chose them.
Great. Which again brings me on to this one. What is in particular about the Inside Out approach that you like? Is there any?
So the Inside Out approach is very unique. It involves a heck of a lot of one-to-one coaching. There's plenty of theory about what works. There's plenty of group dynamics to be explored. There's lots of the usual kind of discovery for an individual in terms of being challenged and pushed out of their comfort zones. All of that is great. But I think where it's unique is the insight that the staff who are running the course, Andy Biddle himself and Maya, the others, they're unique and extraordinary and brilliant people who are bringing their own brilliance and their own accomplishments to you in a very humble, very safe, very loving way, but in a challenging way on a one-to-one basis. And they're daring people to be great. They're daring everybody who goes through this to be an extraordinary version of themselves and to discover elements of that over the course. This is extraordinarily powerful for people. When you bring it down to that very individual, that very safe place, that trusting place about you and what makes you tick and how to make that amazing, then you're into the magic of leadership development. And there's only certain people who are good at that. And they have to have incredible life skills, incredible coaching skills, incredible insight to offer you for that to be real for you. That's what the Inside Out team bring.
You mentioned the word loving, which is in a kind of business environment, in a work environment is unusual. Do you want to explain that a bit more? Well,
I mentioned the loving aspect. People will find that's a curious language to be talking about in sort of corporate leadership. Not in my line of work. I mean, I'm in the emotions business. I'm in a charity leadership where we deal with the world's misery for a living. And the biggest part of the leadership journey there is about hopefulness for humanity. And if that isn't something that all of us share, then I don't know what is as members of the human race. So the love that we all feel for each other may sound soft and woolly and silly and sort of odd, and maybe that something belongs in a different aspect of life. Absolutely not. When you spend a lot of time at work, if you don't love what you do, if you don't love your own contribution to that, if you don't have respect for yourself, you're not going to be successful. You're certainly going to be a successful leader unless you understand those aspects. So the love when I bring it, as a sort of expression of this, is about generosity. It's about being kind by being honest. It's about really confronting the truth in people in a way that shows that you actually care about them. The easiest thing in the world is to sort of keep those sort of thing away, keep the emotion out of it, but humans are governed by behaviour and values, and those things come from the limbic system, and the limbic system is, this is what governs your emotions. So if you can't understand and appreciate the role of emotion in leadership and in self-development, then you have really missed the point. And that's why I respect what my colleagues have been through and how Inside Out Ventures have helped them, because the love is also about being safe and being able to trust the space and know that there's no judgments there, that everybody's on your side. They're just trying to help you dial up the great parts of you to make you amazing and help you understand that things that get in your way easier. And those are things that are very personal, so you have to be handled with a lot of respect and a lot of love.
Fine, I think you answered this in a way, but how will the programme help develop your humanitarian leaders?
So the Inside Out Venture leadership program, will be enormously beneficial for my humanitarian leaders. Look, I mean, these are people who are extraordinary in their own right. They're extraordinarily brilliant individuals. They have been through, in some cases, some of the toughest imaginable human experiences. I've got staff going through this who have been on the front line in Ebola, in a treatment centre, risking their lives. They've been into Syria. They've been to every manner of disaster. And they have to be incredibly resilient and incredibly capable and incredibly robust humans. But they may not have just spent much time understanding what is it about them that makes them able to be that way. And this is where this course creates incredible value, because it allows people to observe themselves differently through the process of the leadership development. It allows them to understand the institution that they work for differently. They are all about the cause and the passion that goes into the cause, and that's incredibly emotional. And this kind of course gives them insight into the other aspects of reality, which is the business and the politics, if you like, that go on around these things, and how not to sort of be constantly in tension with that and fighting that, because some of those things can get in the way of the course. So this wider, broader, deeper insight into self and into the environment in which they operate, and how they both transmit and receive, and how things they say land with impact, and how to be very mindful about that, and how to really have very great focus on how you want your message to go across. Very, very quickly this becomes a much higher order of behaviour, if you like, as a human, in a much more aware and courageous and resilient way, which is the real mantra of this course. You're only a brilliant leader if you really understand yourself. You've got to be courageous in how you behave in the world, and you have to be incredibly resilient to the knockbacks that go along with leading a full life and trying to do hard things in a difficult world. And this is everything that they're getting, I can see, from this Inside Out Ventures leadership course. So for me, I know the investment is worth it. It's a significant one, but as I've said to several of the individuals, I'm investing in you because I know the return we will get on the back of this incredible support will be infinitesimally greater. So it's a huge return on this investment. And good leadership will give you massive return.
Are you doing the course?
No, but I've done similar.
Okay.
I haven't done the course myself. I'd love to do it. They're keeping me away because they want to sort of surprise me, I think, with the extraordinary outcomes, which I will. I'm really looking forward to seeing where my staff are a year from now on the back of this incredible course, and I'm certain that they're going to be much better leaders for it.
Are the people who, within the children who aren't doing the course, is there still a bit of cynicism there, or? I mean, like with any of these kind of leadership development courses, there are the people who are going through it, the anointed few, the chosen ones, and the people who are around them who feel, perhaps cynical towards, it's a big investment, why are we bothering, we just carry on as we are. Well, let's see how they feel about that, those circles of people around these leaders, a year from now, when they see the benefit of the change. And they will, because what they will have is a much deeper relationship with their leadership, a much more impactful conversation, a much more insightful one, and a much safer environment for themselves. And I think the cynicism, it's a facet of life. I've learned here at, say, the children that, you're going to face that in whatever you try. When you try things for the first time,
You know, when you experiment, when you pilot new ways of doing things, of course you meet resistance. But it's all about, you know, what happens a year later or 6 months later. And often the cynicism is lost in the midst of time when people see the huge benefit. And we've been on this journey a few times in different, you know, ways over the years. So I don't fear cynicism. I don't fear questioning of this kind of training. I know, based on my own experiences, that if you do this well with the right team, like we have from Inside Out Ventures, you get such a return, and it's just always a good investment.
And how do you measure that?
So we'll measure the investment we're making through impact over time. So many of the participants are challenged with very large responsibilities. Actually, they're all leaders in their own right, either, you know, on key areas of work, new initiatives, innovations, and they're trying to figure out how to make these work, how to make them stick, how to make them land, how to expand them, how to go to the next level, how to create sustainability. These are huge leadership challenges on their own with whichever piece of the business you're in. And we'll see how much of that has really moved forward, how many dials, notches on the dial we've moved forward in over the 6 months, over a year. But it'll only be very much, you know, down the road when we'll see the true value. That's been my experience over the years. It's 5 years from now when we'll really know. Already I can see the benefit to the individuals at the end of the course. They're already different people. They've had such insights to themselves, empowering insights. You know, they see themselves differently. That is the foundation upon which your leadership can really flourish. Once you have that level of insight, the sky's the limit for you.
Yeah. That's it for the questions. Anything you want to add? Any other?
The only thing I would add is, you know, if you're watching this, and it may sound like you know, sort of an advert for Inside Out Adventures. Well, it is, but it's coming from a very discerning source. You know, I'm the humanitarian director of a very large, you know, department of people who do very difficult things for a living. We're not known for being effusive about things, you know, easily. And I'm here to tell you that this kind of training really matters. You know, whatever walk of life you're in, if you invest in the leadership of your senior staff, you know, through this kind of training, you will never regret it.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. You're free to go.
Thank you so much. And thank you for your help on this. I know Andy's very grateful.